Shanna, when most parents or grandparents think about keeping their kids safe, they think about the classic physical things. Looking both ways before crossing the street, wearing a helmet on a bicycle, or monitoring who they talk to online.
Which is exactly the way that it should be, right? Those are the immediate dangers that are right in front of us. But there is a silent, completely hidden threat that most families don't even realize exists until it's literally years too late. And we're going to talk about child identity theft.
Which sounds absolutely crazy because, kids don't have jobs, they don't buy cars, they don't even apply for credit cards. But that clean, completely blank slate is exactly why they are a top target for identity thieves.
I mean, it really is. And a child's social security number is like gold to a criminal because nobody expects that 10-year-old to be checking their credit report because they don't have a credit report, right? But then a thief can use that number to open accounts, get loans, rent apartments completely undetected for even a decade or more.
Exactly. Most families only find out about it when their teenager applies for their very first student loan or a part-time job or a car loan, and they get turned down because of bad debt history they knew absolutely nothing about.
And it's truly a heartbreaking surprise. Even as adults, it can be a heartbreaking surprise, right? But today, we're going to try to shine a light on this issue. And so we're going to explain exactly how this happens, what signs families should watch out for, and the simple everyday steps that you can take with your local bank and credit groups to lock down your child's credit files and protect their future slate before they even ever leave the nest.
Welcome back to this very, very important episode of Making Sense of Your Sense. I'm Daniel Hill.
Hello, friends, and I'm Shanna Browning, and today we are focusing on family and education with a massive episode, Identity Theft, Protecting Your Children. We're breaking down the reasons why minors are truly prime targets for silent identity fraud, how to spot the red flags early, and how to put a credit freeze in place for your child. And it's an essential guide for every parent, guardian, or grandparent out there.
So, Shanna, let's start by explaining the mindset of an identity thief. Now, that could be a very scary place to go.
Yeah.
But to a criminal, why is a child's information actually more attractive than an adult's information?
Well, it's what we call a clean slate effect, Daniel. So if a thief steals an adult's information, there's a good chance that we as adults already have a credit history. So they might have a low score, a low credit score, or they might have a credit monitoring app on their phone that sends an immediate text alert when the second a new account is opened.
Right. Adults are actively using their files. If a new card pops up, we notice it pretty quickly.
That's 100% right. But a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old is a completely blank canvas with that. So there's no history, no existing debt, and absolutely zero reason for a credit bureau to flag an application as suspicious based on past behavior. So the thief can essentially truly build a completely fake identity around that child's real Social Security number.
And the biggest advantage that this identity thief has really is time. If a child is 7 years old when their number is compromised, that thief has a solid 11 years to run up bills, take out loans, and completely walk away before that child turns 18 and tries to use their own credit for the first time.
And I think you and I can agree on this, that the scariest part of this whole entire issue is that timeline.
Exactly, yes.
It's a silent crime that sits in the background for literally years. And as adults, we're used to checking our statements or keeping an eye on our scores, but nobody thinks to check a credit report for a middle schooler.
And why would they? It's a completely blind spot for most households, and criminals know that, and they exploit that gap. They look for data leaks at schools, medical offices, youth sports leagues where children's records are often kept on file. Once they get a hold of that social security number, they have everything they need to start that fake history.
They absolutely do. And I think that highlights why we need to change how we treat our children's personal information.
Absolutely.
We need to look at it that it's as valuable as our own, if really not more so, because they haven't had the chance to protect it themselves yet. They're relying on their guardian or their parent to do that. So understanding that this blank slate is a target is really the first big shift every family needs to make.
So if this crime is completely silent and can go on for years without a child ever knowing, how does a parent or guardian actually catch it? What are the real world red flags that indicate a child's information is being used out there?
Well, I think the first warning sign, that's really the biggest, comes directly through your mailbox. So if your 8-year-old starts receiving pre-approved card offers or store catalog rewards cards or letters congratulating them on a new auto insurance plan, well, that's a huge red flag.
Yes. And some families might just laugh it off and think it's a funny marketing mistake by a mailing company. But it's actually a sign that a credit file exists in that child's name.
100% right. And under normal circumstances, a minor should not ever have a credit file at all. The credit bureau shouldn't even have a record of them until they turn 18, which is when you can legally borrow money on your own, right? At 18, you can apply for a credit card or at least added as an authorized user to a parent's account. So if the credit card companies are buying list data, and that includes your child's name, then somewhere an account has already been created.
Wow. That's a good way to catch it early on. What are some other more serious warning signs that might show up in the mail?
Well, I think a big one is receiving calls from collection agencies or receiving past due billing notices addressed directly to your child. If you get a letter saying your 12-year-old owes thousands of dollars on a cellular phone contract or a medical bill in another state, you need to act immediately.
Absolutely. Immediately. And what about government notices, like notices from the IRS?
Well, I think you and I can agree on the fact, too, that this is another classic indicator, right? So if you try to claim your child as a dependent on your income tax return and the IRS rejects it because that Social Security number has already been used on another tax return, well, then you've got a problem. So if your child receives an income tax notice stating that they owe taxes on job earnings that they've never made or a job that they've had, then somewhere there's a thief using that identity and their identity to work on those fraudulent returns.
And I know that seeing those letters show up can cause an immediate wave of panic for a parent. But having these warning signs out in the open is actually a good thing because it means the problem is finally visible and you can stop the bleeding before that child reaches adulthood.
100%. And it's called a call to action, right? Don't just dismiss it thinking, well, my kid's just getting something in the mail. That's not what that is. That is your call to action. So if you notice some of these items that we've talked about, don't throw it away in the trash and just assume it's a glitch, right? Take it seriously, investigate the source, and start the process of having to clear your child's name before the issue creates a major hurdle for their future.
Hey everyone, Daniel here, stepping in for just a quick second. When we started making sense of your sense, we had one simple goal: to take the confusion out of everyday finances. We believe that financial education shouldn't be locked behind fancy jargon or expensive consultants. It should be practical, accessible, and easy to understand for everyone. If you've learned something valuable from our show, maybe a tip that saved you a few bucks or a concept that, just finally clicked, do us a huge favor and share that episode with a friend or family member. True wealth is built when we all learn and grow together. Thanks for being a part of this community. Now, let's get back to the show. Shanna, let's talk about the single most powerful defensive weapon available to parents and guardians today. We talk about freezing credit for adults all the time as a standard safety practice, but many people don't know that you can actually do it for minors too. So explain to us, talk us through, how does a minor credit freeze work?
Well, their credit freezes are a great thing to have. It's basically an ultimate lock on a file. So when a freeze is in place, it prevents any of the three bureaus from releasing a credit report to any new companies or lenders. So since a lender won't approve a new card or any kind of loan without checking that credit bureau report first, a thief is instantly blocked from opening any new accounts.
It stops the application right at the front door.
That's right.
But since a child doesn't have an existing credit report or credit history, how do the bureaus freeze something that technically doesn't exist yet?
So that's kind of the neat part of the law. If your child doesn't have a credit file yet, which they're probably not, and that's what we want to be the case, the credit bureaus are required to actually create a blank file for your child first and then freeze it immediately. So this ensures that no criminal can create a fraudulent file later on because the official locked baseline is already established by the parent.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a powerful preventative step. It's like putting a deadbolt on a door before anyone even has a chance to turn the handle. Now, here's my next question. Is this process difficult for a parent to set up?
Well, anything that's worth doing right is, going to take a hot minute, and that's okay. So it's going to require a little bit of paperwork, but it is completely free to do by law. So because a child cannot legally make their own credit choices, you have to act as their authorized representative. And so as we talked, you have to contact those three major credit bureaus individually. So you've got Equifax, Experience, and TransUnion. Those are your three big ones that all banks or lending institutions use.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of documentation does a parent or guardian need to gather to prove that they have the right to lock this down?
So again, paperwork. You're going to need to provide copies of your child's birth certificate, their social security card, your own government-issued ID, and proof of your address. So a utility bill or a bank statement. Each bureau has a specific form on their website for a minor credit freeze. You upload or mail in those copies, and they'll put that lock right in place.
And once that lock is set, it stays there permanently until the child turns 18 and decides to unfreeze it themselves to start their adult financial life. It gives you complete peace of mind for the entire duration of their childhood. It is a true set it and forget it shield for their future workspace.
You are so right, Daniel. And so whenever we bring up identity safety on this show, our community conversation instantly sparks up. So let's look at a common scenario, how child identity data leaks out in everyday life. So if a parent is filling out a school or a sports form, what should they be careful about?
This is probably the biggest area where data exposure happens. Every time a new school year starts or a child signs up for youth baseball or soccer leagues, the application form asks for a lot of personal information. Sometimes they even have a line asking for a social security number.
Right, and as parents, we're used to filling out every single blank line on a school pad without thinking. But do sports leagues or summer camps really need that social security number for your child?
In 99% of cases, the answer is absolutely not. They do not need that number for identification, insurance, or safety. The only groups that legally require it are organizations dealing with tax reporting, government benefits, or official financial accounts like opening a savings account at your local bank branch.
So here's that question. What should a parent do if they see that line on a non-bank form?
Well, the simplest thing there is leave it blank. Or write a note in the margin asking why they need it. Most of the time, the league or organization just used a generic template form and they won't even notice the missing line. If you protect that number from being sitting in a paper file cabinet at a local park or an unsecure school database, you drastically reduce the chance of an accidental leak.
Yeah. And Daniel, you and I both know it's hard to trust a lot of people sometimes, right? Even in your own work environment. I mean, people sometimes don't have the best intentions. So when you put that tool in their hand and they're not honest in what they're doing, that's a great place for them for a thief to start. Yes. So I think it's a great practical rule. But another question that I think we frequently get is, what if I find out my child's information's already been stolen? So what do you do first?
That is a great question. If you run an audit or see notices and discover an account already exists, your first move, the very first thing you need to do is file an official identity theft report with the Federal Trade Commission at identitytheft.gov. This document acts as your legal baseline. You then take that report to the credit bureaus to force them to clear the fraudulent history and close out the fake accounts. Now, like Shanna said earlier, anything worth having is worth working for. It does take time, but staying organized with your documents will completely repair the slate.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, you got to clean it up. I mean, if you're going to help your child in the future, even as adults, you got to clean that up before anything can happen for you to get any kind of money.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because that credit report's going to show everything.
Yes.
For sure. So.
What eye-opening information. This is an essential conversation for family protection. So, that being the case, let's hand our community their clear assignment for the week.
All right, y'all. Your actionable tip for the week is the minor freeze. Contact the bureaus to ensure no file exists for your child, or just go ahead and freeze it.
Sometime before next Tuesday, go to the official websites of Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Search for their child identity theft or minor credit freeze page. Then follow their specific steps to run a search on your child's social security number to confirm no fraudulent history exists.
And if that search comes back clean, which is the hope, then you go ahead and you submit the required paperwork to put a minor credit freeze in place. It takes about 30 minutes of effort to gather the copies and submit the request across all three groups, but it completely secures your child's credit future until they turn 18. It's really the best financial gift you can give them before they even grow up. And I can promise you 30 minutes is a whole lot easier than days upon days upon days of trying to undo the mess. So take that 30 minutes. And Daniel, 30 minutes, right, out of a weekend to protect our kids'
it's worth it.
Credit slate, so worth it. It's just a simple way to practice community safety, and it ensures to start their adult life already on their steady feet.
Absolutely, Shanna. We've heard it said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
that's right.
Let's lock that door today. And that means that they can focus entirely on college, careers, and their own goals when the time comes, without having to clean up a past mess that they didn't make.
That's exactly correct. So let's start looking to next Tuesday. I think this has been a great segue into what we're looking at next. And we're going to stay right here on the kids, and going to school is next. So here's our shift. Back to school. Budgeting for the supply list.
Oh, Shanna, it is peak shopping season. And we're going to talk about how those seasonal classroom costs can completely derail a monthly household budget if you don't plan for them in advance. We'll show you how to build a smart, targeted plan for school clothes, tech, and binders without breaking the bank.
I mean, we're hoping it's really going to be a highly practical, stress-saving episode. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform so it lands right in your pocket next Tuesday morning.
We always appreciate you sharing your week with us, and we hope you take these tools, talk with your family, and then let's meet back here next Tuesday to keep making sense of your sense.